Today is a special day. I have pushed the release of my first Minecraft video up by a couple of days, and it's going to be going live here pretty soon. I am very excited, but it's kind of nerve-wracking. There's always a bit of anxiety in putting something that you've spent time making out into the world and wondering if people are going to enjoy it or if it could have been done better. And there's just many things to think about and many things to worry about. But like I've been talking about for basically this whole playthrough, the goal is to just do. And I can't really be hung up on the details all that much. So given I've been suffering from some rough dreams and a work schedule that is self-inflicted but pushed me a little harder than I've gone in a while, I thought today is a really good day to take on a more cozy project and build myself a safe space to retreat to when my mental or my physical life just gets to be a little bit overwhelming. And I have a vision in my head of how I'm going to build out this mountainside so that I can stop living in like a little hole and instead move into a proper dwelling, a cozy little space to curl up and do whatever it is that I need to do. But before we get building, I need to gather some materials. I've made a list over here. I need wool, spruce, deep slate, sand for glass, bone meal, and iron for some details that I want to add to this dwelling. I was never a great interior designer, but I want to take a crack at it this series and try to make some spaces that I'm more proud of. So because this project's going to take longer than one session, I've installed a little tool that's going to help me make this experience more cinematic in general and hopefully allow me to get a little bit further in this playthrough without having to make so many episodes back to back to back. So I'm going to craft myself a new woodcutting tool, and we'll start with gathering as much spruce as my tiny little paws can hold. But I'm going to keep the saplings in my inventory because I am a good steward of the forest and I like protecting our natural lands, much like we should be doing in real life. Yippee! What an interesting concept that is. We've already discussed how my Achilles heel is getting wrapped up in planning forever, and I'm going to try to break through that today with a mix of forward scripting and live commentary. To help with this, I've added a community favorite mod called Replay, which is how you can record third-person views and time lapses and so on. It's effectively my own little camera drone for Minecraft. So I've gathered up 2 stacks and some change of spruce logs, which is not enough for a gigantic structure, but I think it'll be plenty for what I'm going for. And since I am a good steward of the forest, I'm going to replant some of these saplings just so we can continue to have a nice place to come and harvest wood from. So it's getting dark. I'm going to head back inside and we're going to begin step 2 of the process, which is going underground and seeking out some minerals. Is that what Hank says in Breaking Bad? I can't remember. They're not rocks, they're minerals. I think that's the line if I remember correctly. So our next task is to go underground and obtain some minerals. And if you are an astute Minecraft player, you will remember that minerals spawn at different levels in the world. If you press F3, you get all sorts of information, but the most important thing you can glean is your coordinate systems, which is kind of over on the right there, the X, Y, Z, and the block. Now, there are charts on the internet, which I will go consult, that tell you in which layer of the world things spawn. There's not a lot of overlap between diamond and iron from what I'm seeing. And we're going to want to be going for both of them ideally, but I also want some coal. So it looks like the place we're going to kind of have the best odds of stumbling into all of these is right down kind of just above the deep slate layer. So I think it's going to be like y equals 8. It should give us a good mixture of all of the different minerals. Because if I go too deep, I'm not going to be finding much iron. I'm not going to be finding any coal, and it'll just become a little bit harder to keep things even. And so we're going to go for y equals 8. And when you go on a mining expedition, you want to make sure you have food, which I do indeed. You want to make sure you've got wood. Torches are a must-have. A 16 coal will get you a full stack of torches. I'll take just shy of a stack. We have a shield and a sword, a water bucket for emergencies. Probably ditch these 2 things here. Don't need them. All right, we should be pretty sufficiently set up to head underground. Now, if you'll remember from the previous couple of episodes, we've run into a massive underground aquifer, which has not made mining downward easy. But I think I can manage to find a way to break down in a little bit further, and I think it's going to involve Well, let's take a reconnaissance swim here. It's going to recall kind of following this vein of stone down here. So this is the stairway I'm going to continue digging underneath, because if I flip around... Is this deep slate? Have I already gotten... Where did you come from? Wait. So this is apparently the level I'm trying to be on. We're already down to y equals 8. Or, yeah, y equals 8. Sorry, coordinate systems are all different, so... what I really want to do is establish some kind of strip mine, but I'm not exactly seeing favorable ground for strip mining, so we're going to have to go a little bit deeper, I think, or at least traverse ourselves over to an area that's going to be favorable for mining. Yeah, I'm going to kick on the replay mod, and we will see how this goes. I made my first 2 videos in about 24 hours each, including making notes, filming, editing, creating a thumbnail, and pre-uploading it to YouTube with chapters, tags, and everything else you'd want from a high-quality video. While this is satisfactory, if I think about it in the context of recording a whole series, I run the risk of getting ahead of myself if I'm only planning to release weekly. One thing I'm particularly interested in is community participation, and I feel like I lose that ability if there's too much time in between recording and release. Additionally, I feel like I have more effort left to give. If the last 2 videos were the culmination of a day of work, I can only imagine the things I'd be able to make putting a whole week into it. On the other hand, I am up against executive dysfunction, burnout, and unpredictability, but on the other, I've already made 2 videos, which is tangible progress I can see and be proud of. And if this whole endeavor falls flat, I suppose I can just go back to the previous format until I've got a bit more experience. Oh. Well, we have reached a cave. Got some copper, some redstone, some gold. I will happily... Ooh, there we go. So I think they call this a dripstone cave, if I remember correctly. Well, we'll call this a good stopping point and keep strip mining. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah! See, stick with your systems, friends. You may uncover treasure. Beautiful. Fan of that. Now I have to recount this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we go back the other way. I've apparently missed this piece of iron on the ceiling, which just goes to show that I am sometimes incredibly blind. There's a non-zero chance that I've missed other ores as well, but I don't understand why you just get the eerie long tones, almost like singing bowl tones, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. All right, I've returned. I have a little over a stack and a half of iron ore, which is great. I don't really think I need that many, but I want to make lanterns for this particular build, and you need iron nuggets if I remember correctly. I've also found 5 diamonds. One of the things that's going to be interesting for this series is that I have not really delved into modern Minecraft all that deeply. There's a lot of new stuff that I have never seen before. And so I'm going to try and force myself to use some of the new features and the new blocks that have been added. And one thing that I saw in a Let's Play is the use of copper as both a tool and an armor material, which I think is interesting. I remember back when copper could only be used to make decorative blocks, and if it's possible to make equipment with them, that makes it actually very powerful. It's a very plentiful resource. But even that being said, I have plenty of iron to tide me over. And so I think now all that's left is to gather some wool and clay. Let me go look at my note sheet real quick. I have wool for carpet, spruce for spruce. Thank you, past me. Oh, I need sand for glass panes, bone meal for white glass, and wool for carpet. So I guess I have a little bit of an overworld adventuring journey ahead of me that I'm about to go embark on. First, I need to craft some shears, and it'll especially be nice once I actually go find the wool because I can sleep through the nights. Luckily, it does seem to be morning, and so I at least have the sun on its way from the horizon. Sometimes I just have to pause and take in the beauty. Like that right there, that's a screensaver if ever I saw one. I don't remember seeing any sheep earlier, but as I often say in the real life, I have slept since then. That'll get me some bones. I am a good steward of the forest who doesn't have enough dirt to patch up this creeper hole, so sorry future me, that'll be a project for you. What I would really like to find is a desert. I think a desert would be nice. I recognize this spot. Wait, I think this is where we got our first coal from. on the first episode of the series. Also, there are phantoms now. There's 2 of them. I am not real stoked about that, given I don't even have the resources to sleep. Yeah, I'd love to find the desert, because in real life, the desert is my favorite place. But not a flat desert. I don't think I would enjoy the Sahara as much. But since I have grown up in the American Southwest and I've lived here my entire life, I am a huge fan of the Mojave Desert, the Sonora Desert, the Great Basin. I don't like flat. I have what I would describe as reverse claustrophobia, where if I am in a space that is just flat in all directions and I have no geographic waypoint to reference off of, I get a little bit anxious. And so being in Kansas was a jarring experience for me, because in my hotel room, I could look out the window and just see flat for as far as the eye could see. I could literally draw a straight line across the horizon. But you know, the desert is nice because, especially our deserts here in the Southwest, you get the nice mix of openness, really vast plains that stretch out very far, but in the distance you get mesas and these giant geographic features. It's really just the best of all worlds. I mean, unless you're a lichen enjoyer, which I am. I do like a good moss, but basically what I'm saying is my time in the eastern US had its ups and downs, and one of the downs was certainly everything is flat. Oh God, where are the mountains? All I need is sheep. Where are the sheep? Why am I struggling? Okay, never mind. The daytime is upon us. I definitely could use some healing, but such is life sometimes. Oh, I need to get a vantage point. I need a view. Me when I see a beautiful sunrise. Holy heck. Look at that. It's picturesque. Okie dokie. That's enough waffling around. Let's actually go find some sheep for real this time. Come on. You sheepy sheepy. Donde está? Nearly impossible to find. Oh! Please hold. There are glowberries. I do want to commandeer those for my own purposes. I guess I have to fight my way in, though. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is very bad. Ooh, one wrong move and I am so cooked. I do have coal. All right. Cook some pork chops here. All right, we'll leave those to cook and we will venture downward because I want these glowberries. So if there was any doubt about whether I am good at combat, I hope that it has become clear that I am very much not. Is this clay? Oh, perfect. Perfect. Need clay as well to make some bricks. I don't like bricks themselves, but I do like flower pots and putting saplings in little pots for interior decoration. So we're going to definitely yoink some of this. I mean, they're basically bonsai trees, right? And you can't hate on bonsai trees. Perfect. Where am I going to put my glowberries? Yeet that stone. Actually, no, I can combine these, can't I? Hold on. Can't I? Yeah. There we go. Some maths and stuff. Give me the glowberries. For no other reason than they are pretty and they are an additional plant that I want to farm. There we go. Looks to be some... Ooh! This cave is bountiful and full of bounty. You put that one on a t-shirt. I could just make another crafting table down here. Yeah, there'd be 10 billion crafting tables in the world by the time I'm done. 500 crafting tables. Truly, truly struggling here with inventory management. It's like playing The Division all over again. All right, I would say I've got what I came for, except for wool. I'm still short on wool. Still don't have sand, and I don't really want to dig out a river because then I just leave behind a riverbed that's not particularly good looking, and that's not good steward of the forest behavior. The other question now is, from which direction did I come? I think it was this way. Again, nothing but telling people that I am directionally inclined and then demonstrating otherwise to the utmost capacity. Ah, so many cool caves, but the sun is setting. I have no bed. I have no idea where I am. Oh, what a mess. What a mess this is. Actually, I think I remember coming up this berm here. All right, there's the snow biome. Oh. Actually, I have been in this hole before. You can quote on me on that. So I've returned from my caving adventures with the spoils. I did not encounter any sheep on the way back whatsoever. I will accept building without the carpet. But one thing that we do need to go obtain is sand. And for this, at this point, I just accept I'm going to have to dredge a lake bed, which I'm not terribly excited about, but I figure as long as I go in later and fill it in, that will be good steward of the forest behavior. I think there was a river this way, and I hope that's still accurate. Oh my god, a rainbow all the way across the sky. Am I dating myself with that statement? All right, here we go. Here's a riverbed. What is this? Oh my Jesus. A firefly bush. I did not know that was a thing in vanilla Minecraft. I'm learning all sorts of stuff today. I don't think I will need that much sand, thankfully. I'm not trying to make huge windows, just something to let the light in and add a little bit of intrigue. So for that, I would say even one stack might be overkill, but it'll also save me from having to come back here and gather things. Right, there's a full stack of sand, and I'm going to do my best to at least match the local topology a little bit. All right, good enough for right now. Let's get back and smelt this so we can actually start the build. I guess before we build, we can harvest our wheat. So sometimes it's a little hard to tell the growth stages. This is not quite grown, and this is grown. But when you break grown wheat, you get a piece of wheat, which you can use to bake bread. So I got 7 right there, but you also get a chance of both the seed that grew the wheat originally and an additional seed. So your crop will grow over time. You can see I had just kind of that little corner, and now I've almost doubled the population of my farm, which is great. One block that I am definitely going to need to have is a stone cutter. And truthfully, I don't remember the recipe for a stone cutter, and it's fine. Never mind. Can't even get it from the recipe book. To the wiki. Okie dokie. That was easy. Single iron and 3 stone. And this is the most, well, I say the most useful block in the game for builders, but I'm sure that's contested. But the best thing about this is when you go to create the different variants, A, you get a better idea of what's available to you. But B, your stair ratio is a lot more favorable because you get a 1-to-1, 1 block per 1 stair, instead of in a crafting grid doing 6 blocks for 4 stairs. So it's actually a way better deal for you to use the stone cutter rather than the crafting table. But I just kind of want to take a look at what I can make out of deep slate because it's been a bit. And I'm thinking these tiles are what I want for this build. And I'm not going to make any just yet because I actually have a fair amount of work to do just terraforming the side of the mountain. And so I guess I'm going to kick on replay mod and let you watch that in fast motion while I ramble on about whatever it is I decide to ramble on about. I've been an overthinker as long as I can remember, and there's a loneliness that emerges when being surrounded by people who lack the same level of natural curiosity that I have. It's nearly impossible to discuss abstract concepts with people who are locked in on how football teams did in a playoff I didn't watch. There have been times where I fear I've driven people away because I set up a hypothetical thought experiment in my head that the other person thought was a serious consideration. And at some point, it becomes hard to speak to a world that doesn't make an effort to understand. You just wish someone would take the time to really listen. Not out of obligation or politeness, but out of genuine curiosity and a desire to engage. I've had a persistent feeling that the only way to put my voice out there is through some kind of blog or video essay. I find that in group conversations, I sometimes get anxious and adopt a habit of not speaking unless spoken to, since I am all too often drowned out and lost to the changing of subjects before I am able to get a word in. I feel guilty for speaking up in fear of interrupting somebody else's thought, as I don't want to disrespect their contribution. But in a recording, there's no such pressure. There's nobody to accidentally cut off or drown out, nor anyone to ask permission from. There's just me, my thoughts, and the infinite potential of a block-based sandbox I've been playing in for over a decade of my life. So this is why I leave the recording going. Don't come over here. You just stay there. Just stay there. I'm just a friendly marten, just building myself a home. Ha! 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 Oh, okay, you've gotten close. All right, buddy. No, let's put down the crossbow. Buddy, I didn't follow the zoning code because you never gave me one. Haha. I'm not prepared for a fight. No. Oh, jeez. All right, now I can go back to whatever I was doing before I was so rudely interrupted. The other pressure comes from finding things to talk about. I didn't have anything deep this week, at least not something fully developed enough to dedicate a video to. But it is here that I once again have to let go of algorithmic expectations. My life has been a series of projects spread across several different mediums, and I never found myself content to sit in a single category forever. I'm a Renaissance marten, a jack of all trades and master of none, and it's taken me a while to embrace that as a feature instead of a bug. Alright, so my next shortfall of my beautiful little mountain villa. Jesus Christ. Okay, definitely not in the mood for a creeper at the moment. All right, my next issue is I have run out of spruce wood, so my initial estimates that I had enough wood was completely wrong. But in a more pressing matter, I am completely out of storage space, so I guess we're just gonna grow the chest stack. That's about all I have the capacity to do, but I do want to go, shouldn't say want, I do need to go get some additional wood if I'm gonna finish building this thing. All right, what do you got? You want hay bales and baked potatoes. Haha, indeed. No thanks. Your trades are suck. Alright, no, I'm a creature of peace. This will be part B now. As I'm writing this post-recording and nearly at the end of the editing process, I found that despite dropping the focus on discussion compared to my first two videos, this episode is the one I'm most proud of so far. More importantly, it's the one I've had the most fun working on. And what point is there in creation beside that? Where else am I going to enjoy a joint combination of my experience in writing, building, editing, voiceover, and even music production? It's the truest case of my jack-of-all-trades self coming to light. If I set off to make something to be proud of, I think I can safely say that I've achieved that here. So, thank you for being here for the very beginning. Alright, my friends, well, there you have it. Looks a bit of a mess, but to quote a play that I saw not too long ago, it may seem madness, but there be method in it. So I hope you've enjoyed this rather chaotic episode of Secret Project. Join me next time and we'll figure out the interior and solve our little storage problem. Until then, thanks for joining me and take care.